Russian says they always boo the black boxers out west. So what's new? I mean, you're not lying. I've been to fights where what was it? I went to a fight one time. I'll tell you a story. I went to a fight one time. I went to the Andy Ruiz Luis Ortiz fight last August. I think it was last August. And who was fighting on that card? It was Isa Cruz and Eduardo Ramirez. It was two Mexican fighters. And I remember there was a dude sitting next to me, and he said, yeah. You see this? Because it was a fight where the two guys were basically toe-to-toe, no defense, just exchanging like crazy. And one of the Mexican fans behind me literally said, you see, man, he was a casual. He wasn't a hardcore boxing fan. He was like, yeah, you see, man, this is a real boxing match. This is real boxing. Not like those black guys that run around the ring that run. I'll never forget that. That shit was crazy. Shout out to Hyro. Hyro says, yo, BT, you got the wrong black referee. The ref was Trevor Murdoch. Thank you for the correction, Hyro. I definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate the correction, my friend. Now, look, guys. A lot of fighters in this weight class have been running their mouth about Shakur Stevenson. A lot of guys had a lot of things to say. I mean, most notably, Devin Haney. You see what he said? He said, should have offered this bum 10%. I was being too generous. And listen, I feel like Devin has a right to feel that way because Devin put on one of the best and most entertaining fights of the year with Lomachenko. And mind you, I wasn't even excited about Lomachenko versus Devin because I remember I just got back from Japan and I was like, whatever, that fight's whatever. Devin, I thought Devin would beat Lomachenko a lot easier, and he didn't. And the fight actually turned out to be a real good fight of the year candidate. So, you know, his market value increased, even though I thought he lost. And yeah, but the reality is, I don't know, man. Devin's had some boring fights too. I mean, Devin's had some bad nights too. But I'll give Devin credit because, you know, there's been fights like, you know, when I criticized him against Linares, but he was in the pocket exchanging with Linares, and that's why he got hurt. You know, so it is what it is there. But the guy that was really shooting off his mouth was your boy Ryan Garcia. Let's read his quotes verbatim and let's dissect from there. Ryan Garcia stated the following, and I quote, Shakur, he's been getting on my nerves since the amateurs. He's so arrogant, and I don't say that about nobody. But the man, he just walks around like his shit don't stink. He talks shit about everybody, and he thinks he's some type of dude who knows everything about boxing. Well, if you know everything about boxing, then why the hell did you not get to De Los Santos? He was scared of him and didn't throw any punches. He has to humble himself a little bit. You're boring as shit, and everybody knows it. That was boring. That was the best night of sleep I ever had. So there you have it. So Ryan Garcia with a lot to say about Shakur. And look, I like Ryan Garcia as I like Shakur. I'm a fan of boxing, but Ryan Garcia better worry about Oscar Duarte. He better worry about not getting slept by Oscar Duarte. And he better worry about tightening up his defense because last time I saw him, you know, he bent the knee and he took the knee to Tank. And yes, it was a good liver shot, but he didn't show that extra bit of grit and that extra bit of gumption and that extra bit of quality, that extra bit of toughness you need to win against a fighter like Gervonta Davis. So he's got a lot of questions to answer his damn self. Straight up, he's got a lot of questions to answer his damn self. Now, is there some validity to what he's saying? Yes, but what's the old saying? Don't throw stones from a glass house. You know, he's got a lot to prove himself. He's not without fault. And he better be real careful because this could get real bad for him if you know he has a subpar performance against Oscar Duarte, or you know gets dropped, or just you know or even worse, maybe gets knocked out. You don't know. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, he ran his mouth a lot. You know, my guy, Rick Glazer, I saw Rick, and, you know, shout out to Rick. You know, Rick Glazer, he's a friend of the program. Rick, I have Rick's phone number, so anything I'm saying on here, I have no problem saying to Rick on the phone or on a live. But I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed with Rick's post-fight comments because, you know, in my dealings with Rick Glazer over the years, I've consistently had to hear from Rick that Demetrius Andrade is boring, that Demetrius Andrade stinks, that Demetrius Andrade is not good enough to get fights with certain types of fighters. And, you know, when I tell Rick, hey, he's a 2-division champion, this guy is, you know, deserves respect, you know, Rick's not really giving him the respect I feel he should get, right? So Shakur stinks out the joint, and Rick says, here's what he said, as you can see on the screen. Lots of Shakur Stevenson jokes now, but keep this in mind. Shakur won, and there's nothing controversial about who won, as no one thought De Los Santos won, which is not true, because I remember being live for the fight here on True School Sports. A lot of people thought De Los Santos won, or it could have been a draw. But then he said, now Shakur is the WBC lightweight world champion, and that's what really counts, isn't it? Yeah, Rick, but you weren't saying this about Andrade, and let's be real. I've had these conversations. I've had them on here. We went back and forth about Demetrius Andrade over the years. And Rick Glazer, well, you know, he's mentioned the fact that Andrade's won nothing but vacant belts. Well, I mean, what? You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Shakur Stevenson win a vacant belt at 26, 30, and now 35? Like, has Shakur Stevenson, maybe Valdez, was the Valdez fight? Was he WBC? I'm pretty sure Valdez was WBC champion. So he took the belt off of maybe one guy, but he's won two of his 3 world titles in the weight classes have been vacant titles. So, you know, I just feel like Rick is not keeping that same energy. And I want to show you guys this. I want to show you guys something. So I actually responded to Rick, and you guys can see Rick is interacting with people. Like, people are tweeting Rick, and people are letting Rick have their 2 cents. And I tweeted Rick, and I know he saw it for a fact, and no response. I told him right there. You guys can see about that. Shakur was more boring than last night than Andrade ever was. No response from Rick Glazer. So as the old saying goes, sometimes the silence is the loudest. So, you know, Rick, whenever I talk to him again, this is going to be a point of discussion, because I don't think he's keeping that same energy. Honestly. You know, Andrade has had literal knockdowns, and I've heard Rick Glazer criticize him in fights where he put people on their ass. So it is what it is. Let me see what else we got. Okay, so I'm gonna get to this last tweet, and then I'll get to the comments, and then we'll talk about Jared Anderson here in a second, because he's injecting himself into the Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney beef. But here's what Steve Kim said about Shakur Stevenson and his injury, and then I'll get to the comments after this. He stated the following, and I quote, "I don't doubt that there was or is a left-hand injury with Shakur Stevenson. Injuries happen in all sports." A couple of points on that. Point number 1, when you decide to go through with the fight with an ailment, you live with the result in that performance. There are no asterisks. There are no asterisks here. Most athletes in every sport are really never 100% going into an event. Now, the severity of the injuries differ and will impact the performance at different levels. That's the reality. Point number 2. But his statement about the long camp was what was really eye-opening to me. As I've said for a long time, that many training camps are too long, and in an era where boxers fight just twice a year, guys go through 10 to 12-week camps. You actually wear down your body with that long of a camp. Talking to many old-school fighters and trainers who went through the process, they say you're better off fighting more often and truly sharpening your tools and grinding yourself less in the gym for months. Emmanuel Stewart told me he preferred 6 weeks to prepare for fights. But again, you could do that in an era where boxers fought a lot more. So yeah, again, activity matters in boxing. And on top of that, that's like one of Steve Kim's like gospel truths. He's always talking about activity. And it's true. You know, when a fighter is inactive, the main thing that gets affected is their timing. And as he eloquently stated in the tweet, you can literally leave the best parts of yourself in the gym. And it happens to a lot of fighters these days. A lot of these fighters, they train their asses off, and they go through these 10 to 12 week camps, and the best boxing they do is in front of 5 people in the gym, and not in front of the thousands and thousands that go to watch them fight. So very, very important points there from Steve Kim. Also, I don't like when fighters say, "Oh, I wasn't 100%," because at this level, there is no such thing as 100%, you know, in going into a fight in boxing. No way. Nobody goes through, you know, strength and conditioning, you know, 8 weeks of sparring. Nah, and it's 100%. So that's just what it is. Let me see. Okay. Before we get to Jared Anderson, let me get up off the screen share right quick, and let me talk to the fine folks that are here. Shout out to everyone here. Make sure you run it up, smash that like button so this live gets out to more people and whatnot. Let me see. We got any interesting comments? My man right here says the Reebok running shoes are the best right now. Listen, if Shakur is not careful, Reebok might drop his ass. Urban, my man Urban right here says Keyshawn needs to go fight Abdullah Mason. Listen, I don't think that's a fight that anybody is gonna want until they have to. Abdullah Mason is someone that, you know, I've been high on for a long time. I know he sparred all these guys. I know they all know each other. One thing about Abdullah, right, and I said this in my video about him. One thing about Abdullah Mason that I love is that despite the fact that he has elite boxing skills, and I've seen him spar, I literally set up sparring for him when he came down to South Florida earlier in the year. Despite him having elite boxing skills and being able to box off his back foot, he's a guy that goes in there to butcher you. Like, he gets great leverage on his punches. He turns his punches all the way over, and it's you know, he's gonna be a tough guy to beat. I'm looking forward to hopefully maybe Top Rank building up Abdullah Mason versus Emiliano Vargas as you know, the next big fight, because I feel like that could be a big fight for the future. Shout out to my main man, longtime viewer and a great personal friend of mine, Rafael Calver, Rex Righteous. He says, do you think because Ryan is up with money, he feels he can criticize Shakur that much? Yeah, there's definitely a part of Ryan. There's definitely going to be a part of Ryan Garcia that feels like because he generated X amount of dollars, because he did generate a lot of money from the Tank fight. And I know the Tank fans can sit there and flap their gums and say that Gervonta Davis was the reason the event sold. No, it was both of them. It was the fan base of Gervonta Davis, and it was the casuals that Ryan Garcia brings to the sport together that made that a fight. It was a very special atmosphere being in the T-Mobile Arena. You know, the crowd was damn near 50-50. I would say it was even. You know, there were a lot of Tank fans there. There were a lot of Ryan Garcia fans there. So he definitely showed that, you know, maybe he's not as talented in the ring as Shakur Stevenson, but when it comes to the business, the market value, he's way up on Shakur Stevenson and a lot of fighters in boxing. So that's what it is. El Rosto says Oscar Duarte is garbage, True School. Well, we'll see, man. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to beat Ryan, but he does possess some punching power, and he's listen, I'm not saying I don't think he's gonna win, but you can punch a little bit, so you can never fully write a guy like that off. Let me see. Boxing Gems, shout out to Boxing Gems, one of the best channels on YouTube, isn't giving Duarte much of a chance in the film study. Well, hey, Boxing Gem knows boxing. I haven't even gotten that deep into the film study yet, but from a little bit I've seen, I just give him a puncher's chance at best. And even with that, I feel like Ryan punches harder than him. It's just about with Ryan, the issue won't be punching power. The issue is going to be defensive positioning. If his defensive positioning isn't in order, then he's going to be in big trouble. My main man QC says Boo Boo is a 4-1 underdog this weekend, which is kind of crazy to me because Demetrius Andrews is a damn good fighter. I don't think he should be a 4-1 underdog in any fight. But hey, Benavidez is really hyped up in boxing right now, so I get it. Hey, make that money because there's a good chance he might F around and pull it off. Edwin didn't cut off the ring. That man was not scared of Shakur. You don't seem to understand. He challenged Shakur to come at him and show that he is not a great fighter unless. No, I do understand that. That's what I'm saying. He held his ground. Edwin normally, like when he fought what's his name? Ryle, he was throwing 5, 6, 7 punch combinations. In this fight, Edwin held his ground in the center ring and he was boxing with Shakur. So yes, you're correct. And I do understand that. Edwin, again, I think Edwin did as good as he possibly could have done because anytime the gap was closed on Shakur Stevenson's immediately looking at the referee and clinching Devin Santos, and the fight's having to constantly be reset all the time. So it is what it is, man. Let me see. Any other comments? I know we got a lot of other comments. By the way, guys, I know this is the end of the week and this is the Aftermath Live, but I do want to give you guys a program reminder. beginning tomorrow. Tomorrow is the beginning of Andrade versus Benavidez fight week. I know a lot of us are excited about Andrade versus Benavidez. I know that's probably going to be one of the funnest live fight reactions ever. So I'll be live next Saturday for the fight, or this upcoming Saturday, I should say, for the fight. And make sure you guys join me for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people are sleeping on Demetrius Andrade. A lot of people are definitely hold on. Big Tyrone says, do your homework on the sweet science. Shakur put stop. Just stop, bro. Like, stop. Don't tell me that I need to do my homework. You need to do your homework, because that wasn't the sweet science. The sweet science is transitioning from offense to defense and defense to offense, and being able to, swim without getting wet, as the great Nazi Richardson said. That was not the sweet science. That was Shakur Stevenson's impersonation of Chris Bird versus DeVar Williamson, which is an overly defensive not even defensive, overly cautious, because being defensive means that you're actually throwing something and then your defending punches come back at you. That's not what was happening. He was being overly cautious to even engage, which is different than actually, what you're saying. I'm gonna watch it again, though. I'm gonna watch it again, and I'll have my video later on in the week. But no, Shakur Stevens has had some great fights in his career, like performances, like when he showed the overall sweet science. Like the Jamel Herring was a great example of that. Felix Caraballo was an example of that. The Ichiro Yoshino performance was an example of that. Those are all fights where I feel Shakur Stevenson showed a complete skill set. The ability to transition from offense to defense, defense to offense, to feint, to counterpunch, to punch to the body. That's the sweet science. This was not that. And I'm not hating. I'm not a Shakur Stevenson hater. I've been a fan of him, and I've known who he is longer than the majority of this chat. I can promise you that. All right, last thing I want to touch on, and